Welcome to the Exploring the Future of Productivity, a live demo of Microsoft Copilot with myself and Chris Lyons from Microsoft TSI. Thank you for joining us. This has been our most subscribed webinar to date, so that's fantastic. And thanks for Chris and the team at Microsoft for sharing it out as well. My name is Adam Graham, and I am the Managing Director here at Click IT. Some of you may have seen us before at previous webinars or conferences over the last decade or two, but for those who haven't, we are Click IT. We're providing managed IT support, cybersecurity, and cloud solutions to organisations across the UK for over 20 years. We are one of the top Microsoft providers in the UK, specialising in not-for-profits, SMEs. We have a really deep understanding of the sector and working with over 250 clients and over 5,000 end users. We try and offer tailor-made solutions to organisations of all shapes and sizes, from your one-man band to your 2, 3, 4, 500 user organisations. We look to implement solutions that speak to the challenges and aspirations of the organisation. Data management, cybersecurity. Our aim is to let you focus on your mission, while we can take care of the tech. So if you do want to speak to us, we will have the opportunity to book consultations with our team to talk about Copilot and anything Microsoft at the end of the session, or anything IT in general. Today, I'm grateful to be joined by Chris Lyons from the Microsoft Technology from Social Impact team. Chris has been working with us now for about 18 months and really helped us put together these webinars and a lot of information for our clients and people that we know. Chris has been using Microsoft Copilot for a few months, a couple more longer than me, and he's going to show you just how powerful it is. Following the demo today, we have a live Q&A, as well as the ability to book the consultations, so you can speak to one of our team at Click about how you can implement Copilot into your organisation or improve your IT infrastructure as a whole. So yeah, that's how you can do that at the end. There's a link in the chat now. And that's enough from me, so I'm going to hand over straight to Chris to crack on with the demo.
Thank you, Adam. Cheers, guys. And look, thank you so much for all coming. To see nearly 150 people on a webinar when over the last probably 3 or 4 years, I think we're all webinar fatigued out. So it really does show the interest and the excitement that there is around Copilot. And so I'm just going to today spend a few minutes to share what we do at Microsoft to help this sector. I want to just set the scene really with a few slides, but I promise you there is going to be more demo than there is slides, so you're not going to get PowerPointed to death. I really want to have some fun with this demo today. Copilot is super, super exciting, and hopefully you'll appreciate seeing it in a live environment. They say don't work with kids and animals, but Copilot's been all right at the moment so far when I've demoed it. So hopefully we'll have some fun. You can see the real power of it. And I just want to talk about really what Microsoft does as a whole. So we believe that technology is a real powerful force to empower people and organizations. We see it every single day in the work that we do, whether that be data and AI actually helping predict malaria outbreaks, or humanitarian organizations delivering digital literacy to displaced people. But we really do believe that this sector and the success of this sector is critical to how we achieve this mission as a company. But we have 3 really, really clear objectives with our technology. We need to make it accessible, and we need to make it relevant, and we need to make it affordable for you guys. And we are a customer-first, partner-led company. We work with the likes of Click to help you achieve your missions. I always say this, and there's some familiar faces actually on the call, probably heard me say this before, but nobody has ever gone and donated to your charity and said, I really want my money to go on a Office 365 license. They want it to go and help cure cancer, clean up the beaches, save dolphins. They really, really mean that, and that's why Tech for Social Impact exists. So supporting non-profits on Microsoft is kind of part of who we are. It's in our DNA. We've been doing this since 1983 with our philanthropies team. We, as Tech for Social Impact, are only 6 years old now, but we've only just begun. We are really are motivated than ever. We're trying to reach as many non-profits as we can, and as you can see some of the stats on the screen there, we do serve at the moment 325,000 globally, but there's about 4.5 million, maybe 6 million, which depends which way the wind's blowing, or depends what gets classed as a non-profit. So there's a lot of work for us still to do. But what we do is driven by this kind of deep sense of purpose, and the values of trust and privacy and transparency that you guys have come to expect from us. last year we gave $3.8 billion back in grants and discounted software, which is just a staggering amount. If you actually take us as a country and an aid-giving country, we'd be at about number 12 in the world in Microsoft Tech Social Impact. So really impressive stuff. And the reason that we do this is we needed to think a bit different. So when we were formed 6 years ago, we needed to think about a new business model role, in supporting these changes. And so what we did is we brought our commercial sales business and business development together and created TSI. And so what we're there to do is to empower every single non-profit and humanitarian organisation to accelerate social good. Back to my point before about not spending dollars on licensing and spending them achieving your mission. And what we do is we do provide grants. So hopefully a lot of you on this call get your free licenses from Click or your other partner. But also what we do, and I love telling people about this, is we actually reinvest. So every single dollar that we make above and beyond our costs goes back into this sector. Hence the $3.8 billion last year. So it's a really, really great self-fulfilling model, and it is always very scalable and always growing. And we reinvest in profits to help small non-profits. And we look at some of the charities that are on this today. As Adam said, there's maybe people that have got 1, 2, 3, 4 employees, and others that have got 60, 70, 300. But we try and make it really, really accessible for them small non-profits, which actually make up 85% of the world's non-profits, actually have 10 or fewer employees. So we're not forgetting about the small ones and just going for the big ones. We're absolutely there to help you meet your specific needs. We also offer digital training. I don't want to drain this slide because I've seen it so many times. Hopefully you haven't. But we offer digital training. Our partner ecosystem is critical. And this is the reason we're here today. We are so reliant on our partners. With them, we cannot grow. But at the moment, and this is where we get into AI, I think we're in a really, really unique moment that has been made possible by a large part about digitization of business. Now, that might have been forced on some organizations in March 2020, or it may have actually been before that you as an organization were moving to that digitization. But entire industries are transforming, especially the non-profit. The microeconomic environment is shifting, and we are at this technological inflection point. We haven't experienced diffusion at this scale in the tech industry. And we see that the growth curve is no longer at a gentle slope, it's a vertical line. So this is a graph that shows the time to 100 million users. Mobile phones 16 years, the internet 7 years, Facebook 4.5 years, and ChatGPT 3 months. So it's here, and it's here to stay, and it came on our doorsteps pretty quick. And that's why these sessions are hopefully really useful to show you how important, no matter what your size, we can go and use this. So this was a recent work trend index that Microsoft ran, and it said that 64% of employees don't have enough time and energy to do their job. They're 3.5 times more likely to struggle with innovation or strategic thinking. And so employees are starting to embrace the idea of using AI to support their work. Most people, AI-related job loss is top of mind, and hopefully we'll address that later on. But the data also shows that managers are looking to leverage AI to empower people, not replace them. And actually, managers were 2 times more likely to say that AI was more valuable for boosting productivity versus cutting headcount. And so hopefully you guys are ready to embrace AI in the workplace. And the thing that always comes up is the cost, right? And we need to prove that it's well worth its money. And so there's some really early findings from 365 Copilot. Bear in mind that it only got released to CSP a couple of weeks ago. So for organizations less than 300. So these are some of the early findings that we had internally, and we're absolutely seeing that in our customer base at the moment. Some of the ones that stand out for me were 96% would be disappointed if they no longer had access to Copilot. And now this was a global survey, but one that I think definitely would resonate with a lot of people here. They were offered Copilot or a free lunch. And guess what? 80% of people chose Copilot over having a free lunch. And 30% even said that Copilot would influence their choice of employer. I think 30% also said that free lunch would influence their choice of employer as well. But this is absolutely, it's critical to the research we're doing. This is new, so things like this hopefully can let this resonate with your teams. Now, that's all the cool stuff and all the great stats and the return on investment. But we've got to kind of take a pause here, and we've got to look at an organization pause and think through these 5 important questions to get you to AI. So what are your goals for using AI? Why bother? What are the pain points that can be addressed? And I run numerous roundtables with charities up and down the country, with board members, with frontline workers, with volunteers, with fundraisers, and it all comes back to that everyday repetitiveness of work, and everyone's got it in their job. I've got it. Every single person on this call will have it at some point. And so what could we potentially replace with AI there? What are your current AI capabilities? Hopefully people have played around with ChatGPT and other AI facilitators. But does your organization have an AI strategy in place? But most importantly, does your organization have a data strategy in place? And do you have the necessary infrastructure and resources to support AI initiatives? And as we see shortly, when I hop into the demo, you'll see it's very, very reliant on cloud. Every file that AI needs to see needs to be on the cloud. So this is an opportunity to have a look at your licensing structure, and this absolutely isn't a licensing call, by the way, but make sure you're on the right licensing structure to enable AI to be able to see, or Copilot, sorry, to be able to see the data that you want it to have access to. So each of these elements will help guide and shape how you bring AI into your organization. So this is where Copilot, formerly known as Bing Chat Enterprise, comes in. Now, Copilot is free for everyone that has an Entra ID. So if you've got a Microsoft login to your organization, you can go and use Copilot. The difference comes, and the paid for version is Copilot for Microsoft 365. Now there's a clear difference there. Copilot, and again, I'll explain this when I'm demoing shortly, but Copilot for 365 is embedded within each of these apps. Whereas, click back again, Copilot, obviously beautifully named, by the way, really, really clear, is the web-based version, which you'll see, and it probably looks like ChatGPT if you've used it. So I'm just going to hop out of this deck and we're going to show some stuff. Again, I want to make this as real as possible. So everything you'll see is live. I've got a couple of prompts on my other screen here just to save time in terms of typing. But what I want to do is just show you some real life examples of how we can use Copilot. So I'm not going to make everyone jealous now, but I've just come back from 5 days in Tenerife. I came back last night. So I might have a little bit of a glow, but I'm probably a bit of a croaky voice from the plane. But what I'm actually going to do is something that I did this morning. So I come into Copilot for 365. You can see on the top left-hand side, you've got a work or a web version. Then you've also got this side panel of Copilot as well. You'll find
Chris,
that you can
sorry.
see Copilot.
You're not sharing your screen.
Oh, not showing my screen.
Sorry.
First, there we go. I clicked on it, but I didn't click confirm. There we go. Thanks for jumping in there, Adam. That could have been a long demo, couldn't it? There we go. Have you got that? Perfect. Cool. So I've just hopped onto Edge. So this is my browser. On the left-hand side, you can see I've got the work and the web feature up in the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I've got a little Copilot pop-out. So what you'll see over the next few minutes is you'll see that Copilot pops up in a lot of different places. So I've just gone to copilot.microsoft.com here, and I'm actually going to ask, and again, I'm just going to copy paste this in just because for ease of sake, I'm going to ask what's the latest from Ian Drew, who's my manager, organized by emails, chats, and documents over the last 7 days, i.e. when I've been out of the country. So this is actually going and looking at my organization. This isn't pointing at the web and seeing what Ian Drew, who might be an actor in the US, is doing. And this is actually looking within my organization. So you can see that Ian's been working on several files. He's been working on a presentation yesterday about the Microsoft Presentation Toolkit. He sent an email yesterday He actually sent a Teams message as well asking us for some feedback on a survey. Now, I can actually click into any of these. So these are all really referenceable, and I can click into and go and look at what is the Microsoft Presentation Toolkit. I can actually go and look at the Teams message where he asked us to do that, but I can just hop in between them two. Now, the first thing that happened this morning, I had a phone call with Australia, and I also look after Australia as part of my job, and they asked me what am I doing on the 13th of March, and can I fit a meeting in with a partner over there? So rather than me being really, really lazy and going into Outlook and checking my calendar, I can just quickly come in here, ask Copilot, how's my diary looking on the 13th of March? It will go away. Obviously, it's looking at my Outlook calendar, and hopefully it'll come back and tell me I've got some gaps. I know that I'm probably pretty busy then, because I am actually over in Australia, so this may show a little bit business. But basically what this is getting at is, and you've heard it a lot of time, this is your AI assistant. So when we look at the cost and we look at what people are paying for, exec assistants people that can literally just do your personal assistant for you, this is having that on hand all the time. And this is mobile as well, by the way, so you can do it on your phone. So you can see I've got 13 meetings scheduled for on the 13th of March. If anything specific you'd like to know about your schedule for that day, do I have any time at 10 a.m? See if this works. So when I did this demo this morning, it really nicely showed me all my meetings. And again, this is Copilot, it's different every time. Couldn't find information about my schedule at 10. That's because I'm in the middle of the night over there in Australia. Anyway, we'll flick onto that in a sec and I'll come back to that one. Now, I really want to show you this one because this is super, super useful. And I talked earlier about having Copilot in different places. So in the top right corner of Copilot, I've got this little pop out here. Now this is your sidebar, which is always there and always can address anything that's in the main window. So here, this is a 16-page document that Microsoft had created about the small non-profit guide to technology. Everyone's had it where they get sent a huge document. I've not got time to read all of this. I can come into Copilot, hit generate document summary on the right-hand side, and it will summarize this document into 5 or 6 really nice simple bits. You can see it working away on the right hand side there. And again, you can ask this to be more detailed, you can ask it to be more precise. You can see at the top here, more creative, more balanced, or more precise. I quite like precise, and again, that's a personal preference. Sometimes more creative can be more creative with your prompts. And prompts is a super, super important thing when you're using Copilot. There's actually degrees now in prompt engineering when you're talking to AI. But you've seen what this has done. This has taken a 16-page document and put it into a really nice 7-8 bullet point summary. And then you can actually go into that and it gives you prompts. So I can say, actually, how do I apply for a Microsoft advertising grant? And it's a link that this will then reference the document that it's seeing. And hopefully gives a nice answer back and tell you the steps to apply for a Microsoft advertising grant. So I'm just going to stop respond on that one. And this is something that I only stumbled across the other day, but I thought it was really, really cool. This is in YouTube. So there's hundreds and hundreds of videos about Microsoft 365 Copilot explained by different people. I'm not sure who Lisa Crosby is, but she's kindly decided to do a 32-minute video on how Microsoft just changed the future of work. Again, I've not got 32 minutes to spare to listen to Lisa, unfortunately. And so what I can do here, I can literally just click on generate video summary. And what that'll do, again, it will look through the transcript that Lisa is kindly talking about, and it will generate this summary similar to it's done to the PDF. And you'll see it puts it really nicely into different segments. It breaks it down by the different apps that Lisa talks about and says which bits she talks about and which to cover. And it actually gives you at the bottom, and I'm not going to let this run all the way through, it gives you a timeline that you can then click into. And so if I want to go to 1 minute 11, look about Copilot for Word, once this is all done, I can click into that. So hopefully some really, really quick things you can go and do. This is all free. This is built into your Copilot as long as you've got that turned on with your Entra ID. So I'm just going to stop that responding, and I'm just going to show you something that now this is embedded in Teams. So this is when we talk about Copilot for Microsoft 365. Now, one of the biggest problems that I think probably everyone on this call can relate to is not being able to attend a meeting, or maybe having to pop down to get the Amazon parcel, or maybe not wanting to go to a meeting because it's at 9 p.m. at night and you're out for dinner. So what Teams and Copilot in Teams allows you to do is be able to follow it allows you to follow meetings and give you summaries of these meetings. So this was actually a call that I was on, and so I was presenting, and you can see my name on the left-hand side here. But what this does is this recaps, it generates AI notes based on the transcript. So you can see that Chris Lyons spelt my name a little bit wrong, but we'll let him off on that. Explained the mission, structure, and the value of TSI. This was an internal call that we talked about, and it actually come up with some follow-up tasks. Now, what I can do here is I can break out Copilot, and then it becomes my Copilot. Now, nobody in this meeting can see my notes. Nobody can ever come and interrogate what I'm asking, and because you can ask it some pretty delving things. So I'm just going to copy some prompts in here. So for example, list the main ideas that were discussed in this meeting. Now this meeting was actually on the 19th of January. So this wasn't one that happened yesterday. This is one that happened a few weeks ago, and it stays in within Teams. So it's generating a response on that one. I'm not going to list all of the prompts because I don't want to run out of time to show you some of the productivity stuff. But I did do this a little bit earlier so you can see from above. So while that's generating that, I asked list the attendees at a meeting, and it gave me a list of different people that were in there and actually told them their roles, which was great. So it actually said that Steve, who's mentioned by David as a partner from Phoenix, it talked about me, who's presenter about TSI SMB accounts. And then further up here, and again, this will generate response down there, but I don't just want to jump into this. I asked what questions were unresolved. There we go. So here's the main ideas that were discussed. So some of the pros, some of the cons. We invest heads into some of our partners, so we can create a really strong partnership. I actually like this one as well. Now, if 24 minutes in, you can't tell that I like the sound of my own voice. I'm really, really wary that when I do meetings internally, I take over the call sometime. So I can actually ask Copilot, show me by percentage the amount of time that each presenter spoke for in this call. Now, hopefully, it wasn't like 90% me, nearly 60% me. But what this did, it talks about, these were obviously attendees that asked questions that were 1.6 and 0.5% of the time. And it actually can break it down into words. So how many words within the transcript were actually spoken by each person. Okay, so that's how you can use this productivity-wise. Now, what I want to do now is just show you, and again, we're going to have a bit of fun. And I'm going to show you, I've done this live and in person with a few different people. So it's a little bit different when you're presenting to a muted audience. But what I want to do is just come up with a bit of a fun idea to create a charity, create and show you how powerful Copilot is within here. And what I'm going to do, and I talked about this at the very start, I'm actually going to tell this now to look at the web. So this isn't looking at my internal systems. This is looking at the web, and this is probably looks very similar to ChatGPT that you've seen before. So what I'm going to do is come up with 10 names for a charity that helps support bruised avocados. This was a really problematic thing in Tenerife over the last weekend. So what I've done is come up with, I'm asking ChatGPT, which is powering this, Copilot, to come up with these names for this. Now, it's obviously very creative, and it's coming up with some really, really cool stuff within here as well. Now, you can ask it to do 5, you can ask it to do 1, you can ask it to do 100 if you really wanted to. And so I'm actually going to say, well, thank you for that, Copilot, but make these names a little bit snappier. Make them 2 words and make them alliterate. So avocado allies, bruised busters, green guardians, avocado ambassadors, avocado army. Okay, cool. So any of these names will do. I actually saw one before that when I was doing it, it was avocado aid. So I call it Avo Aid, I think it was. So now I'm going to say, and this is where the prompt engineering really comes in. So write me a short mission statement for Avo Aid, which is a charity that helps support bruised avocados. So what I'm doing is I'm giving it a prompt to say, I want it to be short. I'm telling it what it's about, but then I'm giving it a little bit of context to help it. And so hopefully this will come up with a nice little mission statement that I can then go and use in my marketing, and I can actually develop this more and more as it goes on. So what we can do is we can, and you can see that it's quite nice. It talks about discard the waste by retailers, and food banks are redistributing it. So we said, yeah, okay, I quite like that. However, it's probably not long enough for me. So make it a bit longer and add some statistics. So you can see I'm going back into with Copilot and we're getting into quite a nice relationship because it's listening to me and doing what I want it to do at the moment. So hopefully this will create a little bit more, a bit longer. And again, straight away from here, by the way, I can literally click this copy button and put this into wherever we want. You'll see that it's pretty much the same words. Hopefully it's going to add a next section, which it is. It's adding some statistics that over 1.3 billion tons of avocados are thrown away. And then it's going to go into a little bit more detail, which is great. So, and this is taking information from obviously the internet. So you can see the reference sites that it's doing. So if ever you need to do references within a presentation, you can always add these. And you can see that some of the stats are obviously backed up. There's some pretty interesting stats there about almost twice the size of 1 kilo of bananas, apparently. Now, I like that mission statement. Thank you very much. Now, what I'm going to try and get it to do is we want to try and create a logo. So people, again, may have played around with Image Creator within Copilot or within Bing, as it was. My daughter absolutely loves coming around this, and she came up with the idea that if it's called Avo Aid, it should look like an avocado has gone to the doctors. And this was something that we were playing with yesterday. So hopefully this comes up with a nice little idea. And again, we can tweak and tweak and tweak this until we've got it right. We can add to say, make it in the style of Banksy, or make it in the style of Monet, or make it cartoon. And we can say that's not bad, really, actually. So we'll take this one. So we'll take this one. We'll save him into I'll save him to Copilot demo. Avo image. Perfect. So we've got our there we go. Perfect. Right. Okay. So we've got that. So now what we need to do is we need to come up with some fundraising ideas. So if anyone's not used Whiteboard before, by the way, it is such a fantastic tool for collaboration. So we've used it well before Copilot within our organisation, with our teams. We're all remotely based across the world. So I'm just going to say, for just argument's sake, generate me some fundraising ideas for a charity that helps bruised avocados. So this is more of a starting point. So we've all probably been in them team building sessions where it's a little bit awkward and you have to pin post-it notes on the wall and things like this. This is just creating a little bit more excitement in it. It's let Copilot do the hard work and getting it started. So it's just going to come up with a few fundraising ideas for a charity. And then what we can do is we can just play around with a little bit. We can organize them. We can then potentially move them into different teams and people can work on different ideas. And then we can go from there. So Whiteboard is always a little bit slow, actually. I don't know if it's my machine, but hopefully it should come up with some nice fundraising ideas, and we can do that. So while that's going, I'm just going to hop back into Copilot and just show you something that, again, I've done this in the background, so I've prepared a little bit of data. But one thing I always get asked, and this was something that came up in a roundtable the other day, is we're trying to create some dummy data to actually help with some of our marketing techniques and see how we do. So what I've asked Copilot here to do is to create a table of 10 dummy volunteer donations. I've been really specific about what the columns are going to be, and the donation amount should only be numeric, no currency symbol, and that's important because I didn't want it to affect my Excel, and add some repeats of the city, just so I can do a little bit of kind of data manipulation on that. So let's see if Whiteboard's still going in the background. Oh, let's try that again. So you'll see here this go, and again, I use this all the time if I'm doing, fake emails, and this definitely is listening to me because I'm from Crew, and the first two are from Crew, so it's definitely listening to me. And this has come up with some different campaign names. Obviously, I've not been specific in telling him what campaign names could be, so it could be campaign codes, for example. It's come up with donation amounts, they range, and again, I can go and copy that into Excel. Let me just see if, there we go. So this is Whiteboard. So Whiteboard's back in. I'm just going to, I'll hop back up that in a sec. It's come up with an avocado cookbook. It's come up with partner with local restaurants offered avocado dishes and a few different things. Now, I can really quickly just see this. I can categorize this into different sections. So again, this is used in fundraising potentially to say, right, table 1 over there. Go and think about merchandise and have a look about how we can sell some more tote bags at farmers markets, or you guys, you're creative and you're amazing. Go and do a cookbook for us. So we can do that really quick. We can ask it to regenerate. So we can ask it to come up with some different ideas, and we can just play around with that. But really, this was just to show you how quick we can come up with some kind of starting points. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to just flick into Excel because I've copied this data into here. And now, I'm not an Excel person. I've never been an Excel person, but hopefully Copilot can let you be a numbers person, shall we say, and look like you know what you're talking about. Now, something that I love within Copilot is actually that it shows you the workings that it's done. So you can see here, there's a few on the right hand side that I was playing around with earlier. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask it to rank the campaigns in terms of donation amount. Now, we can do that pretty quickly. Hopefully, everyone that isn't even an Excel user can go and say sort largest to smallest on column E for donation amount. But what this will do is this will give us a nice visual. We can add that into a sheet, and then we can snip that and we can share it with whoever it may be in certain things. So you can see here now, I can do largest to smallest, but I'd probably have to have a think about how to create this visually and make it look nice. So what it's done here, it's ranked the donation amounts by campaign name. It's put it into a nice little graph. We can obviously make that a little bit bigger if we want, and we can add that into an email to the trustees later on. Now, this will be interesting because I'm sure we've got representations from all across the country on here. But I'm going to ask Copilot now, and you can see it's on this sidebar, by the way, so it's always there, and it's always watching. So I'm going to ask which city has the most donations. Now, this is just something totally random, by the way, but something someone asked me the other day is, do I have to be polite to Copilot? Do I have to say please and thank you? Well, no, you don't. But actually, if you do things like shout at Copilot, so if you're asking it to generate a social media post and you're saying focus on Birmingham, and you put Birmingham in capitals, it will actually focus on the word Birmingham. And so just a one reference in kind of the prompt engineering side that you can talk to it in its own language. And so you can see here that Birmingham has the most donations. So congratulations to anyone in Birmingham. There's a few different things, that again, pretty quickly you could do if you're an Excel user, so you can say what's the average donation amount, and it will do that pretty quickly. But you can see I'm talking in English. I'm not saying give me the sum of or give me the mean of. I'm actually going to use this one because I am from Crewe, and I do love Crewe. So I'm going to say what percentage of donations came from Crewe? How generous are the people of Cheshire? So hopefully we'll see that, and then we can see that the average donation is 95, so not too bad. That's the average donation, sorry, and the percentage donation of Crewe is 15%. So Birmingham came out on top with 21%. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, actually, let's think about Birmingham as somewhere to focus on because they seem pretty generous. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to come into Word. Now, Word is crazy powerful. Let me just bring a new Word document up. Got one on my other screen. Here we go. So in Word, and you've probably seen some of these demos before if you've seen any Copilot demos. But what we can do is we can draft. And it's really, really important that everyone's had writer's block, that they don't know what to start with. So what I'm going to say is if I look back at my whiteboard and I looked at the partner with local restaurants to offer avocado dishes was on there. I looked at this and I said that I tell you what, the biggest one we had, the biggest restaurant donation, sorry, on here, and the biggest amount was restaurant donation. So I'm going to go into Word, I'm going to say, right, generate me a detailed fundraising plan to help secure some restaurant donations for our charity, Abo Aid. The plan should have tables and statistics. There should also be a next step section aimed at restaurants to target. Now what this will do, this will go away and create something pretty spectacular that you'll see. Now the big thing I was always remind you on here is it's a Copilot. It's not an autopilot. So this isn't something that you're just going to send out to your board of trustees straight away and say, look what I've created. This is something for you to read over. But you'll see here, it's going away to the web and doing some market analysis. It's breaking the document down into different sections, so into an introduction, and we'll see what this comes up with, because as I say, it's different every time. And it hopefully we'll put a table in there because I asked it for a table. It's come up with some statistics. But what this does, it gives us a really, really quick way of creating a bulk of a strategy. And this could be anything, right? This could be a technical document that it could ask you to do, and I'll show you one that I did earlier. I'll do that while it's working away. But I actually asked it to write a guide for me on, it's in here, shut it down. I asked it to write a white paper on why avocados go brown. And I've not got a massive obsession with avocados, by the way, but I wanted to come up with a really technical paper. And it talks about, there's a chemical reaction called enzymatic browning. It's actually tells you about how we can store it and preserve avocados better. And you can see, this is a pretty more technical than I could write in the 10 seconds that it takes. So if we hop back into our Word, it's still going. It's actually bringing up some fundraising budgets and things like that. It's creating. Now again, this isn't it's not a finite way of doing it, but it's a starter, and that's the key. Now I mentioned earlier, we always need to save our work into OneDrive, because if we don't do this, we can't go and use it anywhere else. So basically what we've done is we create this fundraising plan for restaurants and donations. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to have a little play around this and say, I'm not quite happy with that bit at the start. So I want you to rewrite that for me, Copilot. And you can see how quick this reads it, it tweaks it a little bit, and hopefully rewrites it into a different way of wording. Now we can actually come into Copilot and we can ask this, so we can replace that straight away. We can come into the sidebar again, and we can ask it some questions. So we can say, how can I go and identify some potential restaurants and some partners that we can go and speak to? So this is more for the fundraising and fundraisers. So this is, again, not just referencing this document it's created, it's actually going out to the web. So it talks about conducting some online research, using existing networks to compile a list of restaurants to use avocados, and have a history and interest supporting charitable causes. And so there's a few different ways of doing this. Now, my favorite point about Word, again, is summarize this document. So if I can summarize this document. This is why I have prompts, because you get fat fingers when you're doing a demo. And so this is similar to what I showed you before in the PDF, but this is Copilot created this document. I'm now asking Copilot to go and summarize this document for me. So hopefully it'll go off and do that. And then what we'll do, we'll go and bring this to life. Now, actually, it's not as detailed as I've seen before. So we'll see how it deals with this in the PowerPoint. Just going to summarize this document. Let me just get that, because we'll use that later as well. So here's the main ideas. And again, I think it'd probably break it into 3 or 4 points. And we can go and use that to condense it down and then maybe send it off to a board of trustees later on. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to show you, we're going to come into PowerPoint. Now, PowerPoint, again, I said I'm not a numbers person. I'm definitely not a designer. So Microsoft PowerPoint design has been there for a long time. And you guys probably played around with this and made your slides look nice. But Copilot is obviously one step up from that. And so what I'm doing here is I'm going to say, create me a presentation from, and then I'm going to copy in my Word document that I just created. Now, this is obviously OneDrive reliant, so it needs cloud. And this is going to take that detail that it's created for me. It's going to come up with a nice deck for me, and then again we can manipulate that a little bit. So it's working in the background. Hopefully it's going to come up with some nice figures and images, and we've got the logo that we created, so we can tweak that ourselves. But again, it's a really important way of just getting started. So it's giving you the outline of the presentation it's generating. It's telling you what it's doing. Not letting me click anywhere else because it's so busy, and it's generating the slides. Now, one thing we can do once we get this is we can go and use Designer. So we might not like the way it looks when it comes out, and probably won't like the way it looks. It might not be our organization's brand, but we can absolutely put our brand onto that. So we can use Designer to do that. And you can see here, it's come up with a 11-page presentation with nice images of avocados, which is great. I don't really like that image, so replace this image with an avocado. We want an avocado everywhere. We don't want to go on any pages that doesn't have an avocado on. So hopefully it'll replace an image on there, and you can see that the detail that it's actually done. There's another avocado. It's the same as that one. Picked up the same one. But what I like doing as well in here is I like to say organize. And again, if you're like me and you're quite OCD about your presentations, on the left hand side at the moment, that is just one 16-page deck, was it? 11-page deck. And I like having it into different sections, so I can have an introduction, I can have a main part, and I can have a conclusion. So you'll see that it's put in the intro in there, it's put market analysis, and then it's put a fundraising strategy in. We can then say, let me just go to my, we can then maybe say, are there any call to actions from this deck? So if you get sent a deck, and Microsoft are notoriously bad at doing this, sending like 100-page deck, and the guys at Click will probably know this, but be able to go into somebody else's deck and asking what are the actions straight away. So not creating and then asking, because kind of counterintuitive, but seeing somebody else's deck and applying Copilot to it is really useful. And you can see that there's 3 action items here to do it. Now, something else that I always get asked, and this is an absolute lifesaver for me, is not only does it create your slides for you, it creates a talk track. So you can ask the talk track to be more comedic, you can ask it to be more formal, and genuinely this isn't just a copy and paste from this. There's it does actually create this talk track, and you can get really creative on the right hand side and ask it to make the talk track more or less detailed. Okay, so I know I'm flying through this, by the way, and I've not given anyone a chance to speak. We've got a Q&A at the end. The final thing I'm going to show you is Outlook, if I can find my Outlook. Okay, cool. So this is my favorite thing in Copilot. I told you about my brown avocado white paper that I wrote. I actually emailed that to myself, really sadly. And what I'm going to show you now is what I use every single day within Copilot. So I've got this horrible looking email here with really, really small text, lots of big words that I don't understand. I can simply click at the top, summary by Copilot, and it tells me in 5 sentences what the email is about. So it tells you any to-dos. It's obviously picked up that I sent an email to myself. It talks about different factors of browning and goes into that. Now, I use that absolutely every single day. Now, the other thing I also use, and I've started to use more and more, is to generate content within emails. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of the things that we've done today, and I'm going to draft an email to our board of trustees. So I'm basically going to say, generate me an email to the board of trustees, letting them know about the upcoming restaurant donation campaign we're going to run focused on Birmingham. Also ask David how his elderly dog Dexter is and whether his wife Mary is okay. Explain that we'll present the slides attached to the board next month. Now, again, this is Copilot, not autopilot. You're probably not just going to hit send on an email to your board of trustees and just trusting Copilot, but hopefully it'll give you a base. Now, you can be really prescriptive of what this email looks like, whether it be formal, whether it be long, short, medium, whether you can make it poetic if you really want to. But what I've done is I've asked it to be, I'm going to keep it so you can see what it looks like, and you can see that it's actually said, because in my prompt I said I'm going to attach the slides. I haven't attached the slides yet, so I'm going to get rid of that. You can see that but that, let me just make that a little bit bigger so everyone can see. It talks about the campaign, collecting donations to the staff and customers and partners. It's actually bringing out the bit about your personal note about his elderly dog Dexter, and he's got some health issues lately, and he's hoping to feel better and enjoy the book. And how's your wife Mary? Mary? Works in the health sector under a lot of stress and pressure. Again, that's totally made up, right? So we need to get that out because that is coming from Copilot's creative senses. So what we can do, we can tweak that, we can add stuff to it, we can go and pull in maybe some facts and files and talk tracks. We can talk about, actually, we wrote this really interesting paper on browning avocados, and here it is. But here's the summary. I broke it into 3 spots for you. Now, and the other thing I can do is, this is a Copilot created email. I can actually go and coach myself or coach Copilot as to what this looks like in terms of tone and clarity. So again, I'm sometimes overly informal on my emails, and I just quickly click on Copilot coaching. If I'm writing to an email to a senior manager at Microsoft, or to a super important partner like Adam, and I'm saying, actually, is that maybe a bit friendly, or should that be a little bit more formal? And this actually does say, this could be a little bit more formal. So instead of saying, I hope this email finds you well and safe, it could say, I trust this email finds you well and safe, or I hope you're well and safe. It's really compassionate and appreciative, which is good. It's saying that it does show empathy and gratitude. But what it's saying is, maybe add more of a structure. So consider using bullet points. So that's the coaching on that one. So, Adam, I think I'm done. I know there's an awful lot covered there. I'm gonna.
Well done, Chris. Thank you. I think that's about time to wrap up then. So, let's say thank you very much, everyone, for joining. There's a huge number of people, 150, 185 I saw at one point. So really appreciate everyone's time today, and the recordings will be sent out, and you have got the ability there to book a consultation. And Chris, anything else from you?
No, nothing else from me. I know there's. I've been looking in the Q&A, and I've just realised that the chat is absolutely full of questions. So we will try and get back to everyone, that we didn't answer. Actually, there's still even more questions coming in now, but we've obviously got all your details. But yeah, hopefully you found it interesting. As you can see, it's different every time, so it does come out with a perfect demo every time. But yeah, hopefully it was good.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate everyone's time, and we'll speak soon.